What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks, and today we're doing a deck tech on a partner pairing, Cazur and Ukkima. Now, before we get into the deck tech, a little bit of self-promotion. If you guys have been enjoying these deck techs, enjoying the content I provide, I really would appreciate it if you subscribed. It's totally free and helps me out a ton. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's get into what this deck is trying to do. Our goal is simple. We're gonna play a lot of cards that just generate a ton of tokens. Our commander's gonna buff those tokens up, and then we're gonna have like 8 different ways to draw cards whenever a creature deals combat damage. So we're gonna churn through our deck, create a lot of tokens, and just smash our opponent's face with a board that goes wider than you believe. If that sounds like a deck you're into, let's get into it. Let's kick it off with our first category, mass token generation. I really like Tervagon and Lathril here, because Lathril and Tervagon are going to keep getting bigger because of our commander's ability to give them 1/1 counters, and then when they get bigger, they're going to create more tokens. Additionally, Lathril has that broken ability to tap 10 elves, and just everybody's going to lose 10 life while we gain 10 life. Pretty good. Wand of Orcus and Scepter of Celebration can also be really good with Ukkima. Ukkima is unblockable, and then Ukkima will keep getting bigger because of our other commander. So now we're just creating more and more tokens, kind of like a Lathril or Tervagon, but now our unblockable commander is doing that. Spawnwraith and Tyrannid Harridan. These ones basically do the same thing. The first turn you're going to attack and you're going to get 2 of them, and then you get 4, and then you get 8. These guys keep doubling the amount of tokens you're creating each turn as long as you can keep connecting. Pretty broken. Chasm Skulker synergizes really well with the deck because honestly we are going to be drawing a ton of cards, and then when he dies we're just going to create a lot of tokens that are unblockable for anybody playing blue. Sucks to play blue. And then whenever we attack with them, they're just going to get bigger and bigger. Avenger of Zendikar, he synergizes really well with 1/1 counters, and he can just create a lot of plant tokens. Additionally, now we can add some power to those plant tokens because of our commander. Ghoulcaller Gisa, we have the potential to create some massive creatures with this deck. So we really want to sacrifice those creatures to just create more tokens, and then we can just, grow those tokens, sacrifice them, create more tokens. It snowballs really fast, and it's really hard for our opponent to keep up. They're just going to have to keep board wiping, or we're going to run away with the game. Vanguard Suppressor. This seems like the perfect deck to give this guy a shot in. Late game, he's going to draw you a ton of cards because we're going to be able to create a ton of copies. Early game, he's a 4-drop that just draws you a card every turn. Not terrible. Old One Eye. On top of giving everybody trample, which is really useful in this deck because we really want to be doing combat damage, he's also just going to enter the battlefield in with another 5/5 green Tyrannid, which is pretty cool. Last but not least, we have our at the beginning of each upkeep Menace package. Toxtril the Corrosive, Beledros Witherbloom, and Coma Cosmos Serpent. Toxtril is going to be really efficient removal, basically a board wipe, and it draws us cards. Pretty solid. Beledros untaps our land, which is really good. Remember, our commander does gain us life, so that's useful there. And then Coma is just a bitch to get rid of, and honestly, he can take over the game. Moving on, let's talk about our 1/1 counter synergies. We have Hardened Scales, Benevolent Hydra, and Winding Constrictor. Whenever we get a 1/1 counter, this is basically just going to throw another 1/1 counter on top of it. Notably, that's just going to grow our board twice as fast, and it's going to be really hard to deal with. Colonial Hydra is just flat a kill on sight in this deck. If they don't get rid of them, we're going to run away with the game, and it's not even going to feel close. Kodama of the West Tree is absolutely busted in this deck. Not only are we going to get all of our basics and throw them onto the battlefield, but all of our creatures are going to have trample as well. Tyrant Guard. This guy's just a super good board wipe protection that sticks onto the battlefield. That means people are just going to hold onto their board wipes because they know it's going to be useless. They're going to have to get rid of this guy before they can do anything. The Ozolith is super solid in the deck, just making sure we hold on to those 1/1 counters whenever someone board wipes or anything unforeseen happens. Retribution of the Ancients, really good for just killing everybody's creatures, right? We just have to remove some 1/1 counters here and kill some creatures there. Pure Strain, Gene Stealer. This guy is just a better Fertilid because we can just keep putting 1/1 counters on him and keep getting lands from our library onto the battlefield. Steelbane Hydra is also super solid in the deck. We're just going to be able to keep growing him, and he's going to stay on the battlefield and keep destroying everybody's artifacts and enchantments. Spike Weaver. If you've ever played against a Spore Frog, this guy's way worse in this deck. We're going to be able to keep growing him, we're going to keep preventing combat damage, and he's a really powerful political piece as well. Lastly, we have Champion of Liamholt. Not only is this girl going to be massive, but she's effectively going to make our whole board unblockable, letting us continually get those 1/1 counters, drawing a ton of cards, and honestly, she's just going to make sure the deck works. She's an absolute menace. Let's talk about some of the supporting cards of the deck. We have Adrix and Nev and Parallel Lives. This is just going to double up on all of our tokens. Mudratha, the Gravetide. I really like her in any deck that she can be thrown in because it's just going to give you access to all of your graveyard, making sure we can bring our key pieces back to the battlefield. Pathbreaker Ibex, a solid pump and gives trample to all of our creatures. Remember, we really need our creatures to be connecting whenever they attack for this deck to work. Let's move on to card draw, and this is where you'll see we're really going to churn through that library. Bred for the Hunt and Curiosity Crafter. These are conditional card draw whenever our creatures deal combat damage to a player, right? They'll need a 1/1 counter on them or they'll need to be a token. Next up, we have Toski, Bearer of Secrets, Orin Frostfang, Biden of Thassa, and Reconnaissance Mission. This just cares that you deal combat damage to a player and you're going to draw the card. Additionally, we have Coastal Piracy that also does the same exact thing. Gix is another solid card that's just going to go ahead and draw you a card whenever you deal combat damage. Notably, this works for our opponents, but if they utilize that card draw, it's just going to leave them wide open for an attack from us. That's a total of 8 cards that just draw you a card whenever one of our creatures deals combat damage, and remember, we're going super wide. Additionally, our commander is unblockable, so we're always going to get some use out of cards like these. Cold-Eyed Selkie, a solid card that's going to be unblockable because someone's always playing blue. Additionally, we're just going to keep drawing more and more cards because Cold-Eyed Selkie is going to get bigger and bigger. Lastly, we run Beast Whisperer because there is a lot of creature cards in this deck, so it's just solid to draw a card whenever you cast one of those creature spells. Moving on to ramp, we have Dowsing Dagger. This is going to be super easy to get off with our commander being unblockable. Cryptolith Rites is a super solid card in the deck. It's just going to let you tap your creatures for mana, and this Friendly Forest Girl will do the exact same thing, but it'll only work for your tokens. Moving on to your standard stuff, we have Nature's Lore, Farseek, and 3 Visits for that really early, consistent ramp. Cultivate and Kodama's Reach are also super solid. I think people overlook the fact that this guarantees you're going to have a land drop for the next turn as well. So effectively, it can ramp you twice in a row if you had no lands in hand. And then we are running all 4 Signets because I think the Signets are just super efficient, really good at color fixing. Additionally, ramping is just what you really want to be doing on turn 2. That way you can play your commander turn 3. Lastly, we have our removal package, a Baron. I really like this guy. He replaces himself if you get him with that Ravenous ability, and he's going to go ahead and get bigger anyway because of our commander. He's got trample. We can get rid of any pesky artifacts or enchantments. Grim Hireling. I like this girl because she's going to generate us some treasure tokens, and she can easily take out those utility creatures that are pretty low to the ground. Siren Storm Tamer and Glen Elendra Archmage. These 2 cards really mess with our opponent's heads. I've seen people use removal on someone else just because they knew it was going to get countered because we had a Glen Elendra on the battlefield. Additionally, it will protect us from any board wipes if we have Glen Elendra on the battlefield, and Siren Storm Tamer is just really good for those single target removal spells. An Offer You Can't Refuse and Swan Song, this is literally just to keep those board wipes away from us and the single target removal away from us. We're playing some bombs, so we really need to protect them. Counterspell, again, protect those bombs. Lastly, we have our board wipes with Toxic Deluge, and I really love running Azuri's Predation. Yes, I know there's better cards, but this is a token deck. I want to create a lot of tokens. It's just super on theme, right? After we get a lot of those beast tokens, we can keep smashing face with them, drawing cards. It really helps move our game plan along. And that's going to do it, guys. I really want to know what you think about this deck tech down in the comments below. I love reading them. I love seeing your guys' card suggestions. As always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I'll see you in the next one.